Chapter 309. After the 8th day of the first lunar month, big and small companies in Beijing have opened for business. Of course, Flying Stone Records was no exception, but the Celebrate the Spring Festival banner was still hung on the porch on the ground floor of the building. A row of long red lanterns still exuded the festive atmosphere of the new year, and the ground was still red from the explosion of firecrackers. Lu Chen and Chen Fei came together, and Lin Jijia and a vice president of Flying Stone Records greeted them at the door in person. Such a courtesy made Lu Chen secretly feel strange. He and Chen Fei, and Lin Jijia were friends. The two sides often came to Flying Stone Records and were very familiar with each other. Moreover, it wasn't the first or second time that they came to Flying Stone Records. Even if Lu Chen's status has improved a lot now, there's no need to be so formal and grand, right? Must there be a request for courtesy? Lu Chen thought in his heart, and asked with a smile, "Big brother Lin, why are you so polite? I'll be embarrassed to visit next time." Chen Fei, also said with a smile, "Yes, big brother Lin is too polite." Lin Jijia laughed and said, "You're welcome, you're welcome. You two are the first group of distinguished guests this year. Of course, it should be grand." I haven't congratulated Lu Chen on winning the Best Newcomer and Best Composition awards. It's a pity that it's not now. As the music director of Flying Stone Records, Lin Jijia was of course eligible to participate in the Asian Chinese Music Chart award ceremony, but he just came back from abroad yesterday, so he couldn't catch up with the party. Of course, it was not too late to send congratulations now. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Thank you." The group of people chatted and laughed and came to the conference room of Flying Stone Records. Because Chen Fei had been notified in advance, Flying Stone Records was already ready. Many of the key members of the record company were already sitting in the conference room, and the LCD TV on the wall also showed the words, Chen Fei's new album, Woman Flower, production seminar. Seeing Lu Chen, Chen Fei and others coming in, these elites of Flying Stone Records got up to greet them. Flying Stone Records attaches great importance to Chen Fei's transformational work and strives to make a good start in 2016. Therefore, they have formed a capable force headed by Lin Jijia to be responsible for the production and distribution of the new album. Woman Flower was the name of the new album. This song was tailor-made by Lu Chen for Chen Fei, and it was also the title song of the album. According to the plan, the music video would be shot next week for pre-promotion. Today's small meeting was to discuss the production, publicity and other work of the album. Because Chen Fei has his own independent studio, and the new album was outsourced to Flying Stone Records, there must be a lot of cooperation problems. In addition, Lu Chen had joined the team, so all aspects needed to be coordinated. In addition to Lu Chen, Chen Fei and Lin Jijia, there were also the producers, songwriters, arrangers, recording studio, publicity and so on of Flying Stone Records. The meeting lasted for almost 2 hours before it ended, and the atmosphere was friendly and warm. Lu Chen didn't speak much, but no one dared to ignore his existence. He alone was responsible for the creation of half of the album, and he was also responsible for the co-arrangement and supervision, which was even more important than Lin Jijia. After the meeting, Lin Jijia took Lu Chen and Chen Fei to his office. The music director of Flying Stone Records personally made coffee for the two of them. The coffee he used was excellent, with a rich and mellow taste. The strange thing was that there was not much bitterness, and it tasted particularly smooth. Although Lu Chen was not an expert in tasting coffee, he could taste the extraordinariness. In contrast, Chen Fei was more knowledgeable. After taking a few sips, she was quite moved. "Big brother Lin, is this authentic Blue Mountain coffee?" Lin Jijia said with a smile, "Yes, I just brought back Blue Mountain coffee from Japan. There are only 2 pounds. If you like it, take 1 pound back when you leave." Blue Mountain coffee was one of the best coffee in the world, but it was also the most counterfeited coffee brand. In China, it was ruined like pearl milk tea. In any city, you could casually walk into a coffee shop, and you could order a cup of so-called Blue Mountain coffee that cost dozens of yuan. In fact, the annual output of this kind of coffee from Blue Mountain in Jamaica does not exceed 100 tons, and most of it is supplied to European and American countries, and there are very few domestic imports. Because the Japanese have invested a lot in the industrial chain of Blue Mountain coffee, they have obtained a lot of market share, so authentic Blue Mountain coffee can still be bought in Japan, but the price has been hiked very much. £1? Chen Feier pursed her lips and said with a smile, Big Brother Lin is too polite. If you have something to say, just say it. As smart as she was, how could she not see that Lin Jijie had something to ask of her, so she was extraordinarily polite. Sure enough, I can't hide it from Feier. Lin Jijie was not embarrassed to be seen through. He said with a smile, in fact, it's not my business. I just want to ask Lu Chen, do you have any plans to shoot a new TV series this year? Lu Chen suddenly understood that Flying Stone Records was also eyeing his new play. The great success of Autumn in My Heart made Lu Chen a hot figure in the film and television circle in just a few months. The 20-episode urban romance drama premiered on Hygiene Satellite TV and created the highest ratings record of the same type of TV series in recent years, and made many newcomers, including Lu Chen himself, popular. For example, Hu Yang, who played the first male supporting role of Han Taishi, and Zhang Liwei, who played the first female supporting role of Cui Xinai, were both artists who had debuted for a long time. But before the broadcast of Autumn in My Heart, how many people had heard of the names of these two? Now Hu Yang's commercial performance started at 200,000 yuan, and the brand endorsement was at least 3 million yuan. His value had skyrocketed dozens of times, and he was busy with advertisements, which made many of his peers envious and jealous. There were also Zhang Juanji and Yi Mingmei, who played the role of Juanxi and Eunhee when they were young, who also became famous overnight. As for Chienda Brothers Pictures, which invested in the filming of Autumn in My Heart, it was even more prosperous. The success of Autumn in My Heart was really a miracle. It had a great influence in and out of the circle, and the ratings of the first episode of the replay on Beijing television and Zhejiang satellite TV both exceeded 1%, which was enough to prove that the popularity of the show had not diminished. Under such circumstances, Lu Chen's new play this year has become one of the focuses of attention in the circle. Many people in the industry think that Lu Chen is likely to shoot the second part of Autumn in My Heart. After the new year, the phones of Lu Shi and Lu Chen's studio were almost blown up by people. There was an endless stream of people who came to the door to seek cooperation and recommend artists. Even many stars also inquired about the news through various channels. Even Chen Feier was harassed a lot because of this. Her relationship with Lu Chen was not a secret in the circle. It was normal for Flying Stone Records to also come to join in the fun. Lu Chen said, Big Brother Lin, since you want to ask me, shouldn't this coffee be given to me? Of course, Lu Chen was joking. As a result, Lin Jijie gave him a mocking look. Is there any difference between giving it to Chen Feier and giving it to you? Is there? Well, there is no difference. Lu Chen sighed and said, the plan is to start preparing next month. If everything goes well, filming will probably start in April. Lin Jijie's eyes suddenly lit up. Is it the second part of Autumn in My Heart? Lu Chen shook his head. No, I won't make a sequel to this play. I have an idea for a new play. Even Chen Feier was interested. What's the content of the story? Lu Chen told her about the new play, but it didn't involve specific things, such as the outline of the story. Lu Chen said with a smile, it's a secret for the time being, but the play will not be a tragedy again. You are still the heroine. Chen Feier gave him a white look, but her heart was sweet and happy. Due to unforeseen consequences, Lu Chen and Chen Fei haven't made their relationship public for the time being, but they don't intend to hide it for a long time. The best way is to let fans accept their relationship through this subtle influence. That's right. After Autumn in My Heart was broadcasted, in the eyes of many fans, the two were the best CP combination. Your career is getting bigger and bigger, Lin Jijie sighed heartily. As one of the 4 judges of Singing China, he could be said to have watched Lu Chen become famous all the way to the present. The music director of Flying Stone Records said, your sister told me that you intend to change the studio's location? Lu Chen replied frankly, yes, I merged a music studio and am going to build a high-specification recording studio. The place I rented now is too small. If there is a suitable place here, it would be best. A man who makes music should have his own recording studio. Lin Jijie said with a smile, that's what my mentor once told me. I really envy you. You're also very lucky. I know a friend who has opened a large art studio here. Now he intends to transfer half of the site. The sublease fee is not cheap, but it's enough to accommodate your new studio. Is this good news? Lu Chen was surprised. Really? He didn't expect to be able to take root in the art park. The property here was too popular, and there was no spare space at all, so even if he shared it with others, it would be lucky. Lin Jijie is a professional. If he says it's enough, it must be enough. Lin Jijie nodded. Of course it's true. It's also a coincidence that my friend needs money recently. Otherwise, he would never be willing to divide half of his territory. There's no time like the present. Since you're here today, I'll bring you over to talk to him now. Lu Chen was grateful. Thank you, big brother Lin. I really troubled you. He was secretly admiring in his heart. Lin Jijie just asked him if he had any plans to shoot a new drama. After asking, he no longer said what he thought, but first proposed to help. In this way, once the matchmaking was successful, he would owe him a favor. Lin Jijie's way of dealing with people was very quiet, which was worth learning. Of course, Lu Chen himself was also very happy, and deeply felt the importance of networking. Without Lin Jijie, if others wanted to sublease the venue, he wouldn't even get the news, let alone talk about it. Chapter 310. Lin Jijie's friend, Yu Jizhong, opened an art studio in the New Era Art Park. Yu Jizhong's studio was not far from the headquarters of Flying Stone Records, and it was only a 5-minute walk away. It was located in a unique building composed of large areas of glass and steel frames, separated by a green belt and an art square. The buildings in the New Era Art Park were very distinctive. There were basically no high-rise buildings here. Most of the buildings were only 2 or 3 stories high, and Yu Jizhong's studio was no exception. On the first floor, except for the front desk, most of the space was given over to the exhibition hall for displaying art. The main exhibits included oil paintings, small sculptures, photographic works and modern art. Upstairs, the second floor, was the art workshop, including a painting room, a sculpture room, an office, and so on. Lu Chen met Yu Jizhong in the painting room. The artist appeared to be in his 40s or 50s. He wore a set of work clothes stained with oil paint. He was stocky, with a large face, thick eyebrows, and bright eyes. He had the typical messy hair and beard of an artist. Lin Jijie introduced him to the two. Lu Chen, this is Yu Jizhong, teacher Yu, a real artist. Lu Chen immediately reached out and said, hello, teacher Yu, I've heard a lot about you. In fact, he didn't know the other party at all, nor had he heard of this person's name. It was nothing more than a polite greeting. This is Lu Chen, a musician, who has his own studio. Chen Fei had gone back early, so only Lu Chen came with Lin Jijie. Yu Jizhong probably didn't watch entertainment news. He looked at Lu Chen calmly, and probably didn't know Lu Chen. He shook hands with the latter indifferently and said, hello. Lin Jijie said with a smile, old Yu, Lu Chen wants to rent your land. You have to give me some face. Yu Jizhong's face finally showed a smile, let's talk in my office. With Lin Jijie's matchmaking, Yu Jizhong still gave him quite a lot of face. He changed into a clean set of clothes and asked his assistant to bring him tea. They chatted like friends in the office. The building occupied by Yu Jizhong's studio alone had a usable area of about 1,800 square meters. Yu Jizhong could at most allocate 1,000 square meters of space to make it a shared rental. Of course, the subletting fee was not small. According to the artist, as long as he released the news, there would be people willing to rent it at a high price. This location was considered very good in the entire art park. Since Lu Chen was Lin Jijie's friend, he was willing to give Lu Chen priority, but there was a condition. If you're involved in music, you can't disturb us. Otherwise, We won't be able to negotiate no matter how high the price is. Lu Chen smiled and said, that's easy. When I redecorate the place, I promise to make sure that it's soundproof. The soundproofing of the recording studio was the best, and there was no noise problem. The only trouble was the practice room, but as long as the decoration was in place, it would definitely not affect the neighbors. The office was also afraid of noise. Yu Jizhong's words proved that this matter was basically not a big problem. As for the subletting price, it needed to be discussed by both sides again. It couldn't be settled in a few words. In general, it was very smooth. The communication between both sides was quite pleasant. Yu Jizhong didn't have the strange temper of an artist. But when it was time to say goodbye, he suddenly seemed to think of something and asked, Lu Chen, did you write a song called Blue Lotus? Lu Chen was stunned. Yes. Yu Jizhong nodded and said, I've heard it. It's a very good song. When Lu Chen returned to the studio, it was almost dark. It was already off work, and there was no one in the office, but the manager's room was still lit. He went to have a look and found that Lu Shi was still working in front of the computer, and her fingers were typing quickly on the keyboard. Lu Chen said, Sister, it's late. Let's go to dinner together. Lu Shi turned her head and asked, Where's Fei? Lu Chen said, She has other things to do. By the way, the new studio has been found. I went to see it in the afternoon. It's very suitable. You have to go and talk to them about the rent tomorrow. Lu Shi was surprised. So fast? Did Director Lin help? Lu Chen nodded. Yes, she really helped a lot this time. I owe her a big favor. He said, Let's go. We'll talk while eating. Don't worry, Lu Shi held the mouse and opened a web page and said, Take a look at this first. What? Lu Chen walked over curiously and found that Lu Shi had opened his personal Tieba. Although his Tieba was established by fans and netizens, Lu Chen's studio also had management rights after passing the qualification certification. Therefore, it was semi-official, and it was also within the scope of Lu Shi's work. In the future, when Lu Chen's studio moved and expanded, the work in this area would definitely be separated and handled by someone else. In his Tieba, the top page was marked in red, and it was a post about someone who had been skinned. Lu Chen quickly browsed through the post and found that the person who was skinned was a guy with the ID, Heavy Metal Element. This person was not a fan member of Lu Chen's Tieba, but he had made many comments in the Tieba. The posts of Heavy Metal Element were basically attacks. It was very common for some people to like and dislike stars and idols. This reflected on the internet. If there were real fans, there would naturally be haters. The Tieba would not be full of praises. Under normal circumstances, as long as there were no bad situations, such as slanderous words, personal attacks, or rumors, the Tieba administrator would not randomly delete posts and retain a certain amount of dissident voices. But last night, when Lu Chen won the Best Newcomer award and the fans in the Tieba celebrated, this Heavy Metal Element jumped out and said strange things. He also bet with others that Lu Chen could not win the Best Composition award. In the end, after being slapped in the face, he pretended to be dead, which completely angered many fans. Therefore, some experienced and skilled fans started to track down Heavy Metal Element, wanting to find out his true identity. By tracking the traces left by Heavy Metal Element in the Tieba, they really did find something. This Heavy Metal Element's true identity turned out to be Ling Xiaoxiao's assistant. Ling Xiaoxiao could be considered Lu Chen's old enemy. The grudge between the two could be traced back to when Lu Chen had just debuted. However, at that time, the two could be said to be on the same starting line. Now, they were on completely different levels. Ling Xiaoxiao's assistant actually ran to Lu Chen's Tieba to stir up trouble. It was both surprising and not that unbelievable. The technical fans found a very complete chain of evidence, and the final direction was clear and unmistakable. It could be considered a very successful human flesh operation, so it was published on the Tieba to denounce it. In this pinned post, someone also pointed out that it was very likely that Ling Xiaoxiao used his assistant's account to scold Lu Chen. What a clown. After reading the post, Lu Chen could not help but shake his head, feeling that it was very funny. He said, "Don't worry about it, let's go eat." In Lu Chen's heart, this trivial matter was really not as important as him eating with his sister. Ling Xiaoxiao? He had almost forgotten this name. Chapter 311. Lu Chen's fan group was first established when he was a host of Whale TV. Most of the groups that like to watch live broadcasts on the internet are otaku. Although the general public opinion of otaku is not high, they are young, single, like games, have been on the internet for a long time, lack of social work experience, and so on. But there are also strong otaku, and that is technical otaku. Perhaps in reality, technical otaku do not even have the ability to kill a chicken, but in the internet world, there is no shortage of people who can call the wind and summon the rain. Heavy Metal Element obviously underestimated the power of Lu Chen's fan group. He thought that no one would recognize him with a sock puppet. As a result, his true identity was found out. The real name of Heavy Metal Element is Gavin Gavin. He is Ling Xiaoxiao's latest assistant. Techno-geeks follow the vine to the melon through various internet clues and dig out his identity and origin. With conclusive evidence, Lu Chen's fans immediately bombarded Ling Xiaoxiao's blog and post bar. Some people even made human flesh pictures and posted them on the internet. They took screenshots of all the remarks of Heavy Metal Element that ridiculed and attacked Lu Chen and used them as a weapon to slap Ling Xiaoxiao's face. Our Lu Chen won 2 big awards. Someone must be so jealous that his teeth fell off, right? Gee, I'm so jealous of him. There are so many villains in the entertainment industry. If you have the guts, come with me. What's the use of your assistant's sock puppet? Filthy, and shameless. I hate this kind of sissy who backstabs people the most. People drifting in Jianghu, how can they not be stabbed? Fighting in the circle is simply commonplace. There are many star artists who fight each other on the internet, but few people like Ling Xiaoxiao run to Lu Chen's post bar to say sour words. Tien, not bad. That's right. Although the ID belongs to Ling Xiaoxiao's assistant Gavin, most people believe that it was Ling Xiaoxiao who posted it himself. They also listed the evidence, common words in the post, writing habits, and so on. Originally, it was not a big deal to use a sock puppet to make sarcastic remarks. Even saints would ridicule them. However, it would be very awkward to be exposed. When Lu Chen and Lu Shi went to eat, the latter also received several interview calls from the media. The noses of the entertainment reporters were extremely sensitive. When the storm started to blow up on the internet, they acted immediately. They wanted to ask for Lu Chen's opinion. It would be best if they could fiercely rebuke Ling Xiaoxiao. That way, the gossip would be easy to write. Celebrities quarreling had always been entertainment reporters' favorite. What's more, one side was the current hot Lu Chen. Unfortunately, Lu Shi didn't give them a chance. No matter which website or newspaper reporter called, she politely replied to them. Never heard of such a thing, no comment. Lu Chen is busy with work. After being Lu Chen's agent for more than half a year, Lu Shi was really trained. She handled these reporters skillfully and easily on the phone, not revealing the slightest bit of information. Of course, if the reporters insisted on writing nonsense, there was nothing they could do about it. Their low moral integrity could make people dumbfounded. It wasn't until they sat down in a small private room in the restaurant that Lu Shi's phone finally stopped ringing. Lu Chen flipped through the menu and asked his sister, "What do you want to eat tonight? Do you want a filet mignon?" "I don't want to eat meat," Lu Shi said with lingering fear. "I've gained a few pounds. Let's have a pot of paella. The food here is pretty good." Lu Chen really wanted to say that paella was also very nutritious, but after thinking about it, he didn't want to pressure his sister. In the end, he had just picked 2 dishes when Lu Shi's phone rang again. Lu Chen was annoyed. "It's dinner time. Turn off your phone." Any success had a price. The price of being a star idol was losing a lot of ordinary people's happiness. Life and work were basically inseparable, and there was not much free time and space. he was still fine. He had already changed his mobile phone, and only his family and friends could be contacted. She was miserable. She was on the phone all day long, and she couldn't even have a peaceful meal. This was something that couldn't be helped. If no one really called, it could only mean that she was completely out of luck. Even so, those fly-like entertainment reporters were still very annoying. "Hello, Lu Chen Studio." She put the phone to her ear and raised her right index finger to Lu Chen, indicating that she would take the last call. She said a few words to the person on the phone, and her expression became serious. Seeing this, Lu Chen couldn't help but put down the menu in his hand. After chatting with the other party for a while, She ended the call. She shook her phone and asked with a smile, "Guess who called us?" Lu Chen sweated. "How can I guess? It should be a good thing." He knew it just by looking at Lu's expression. She even said things like, "Welcome," and "See you tomorrow," to the other party. It was most likely a good thing had come knocking. She smiled and said, "The representative of Korea's SPG Entertainment Company in China. He wants to buy the copyright of Autumn in My Heart." Koreans? Lu Chen was surprised. That was really a good thing. The domestic entertainment industry began to develop rapidly at the end of the last century. Foreign media and entertainment companies had their eyes on this huge market, and a large number of cultural products such as movies, TV series, music, and so on were imported, forming a great impact. Especially in Korea, which was a close neighbor of the mainland, the promotion of the cultural industry was great. The Korean wave formed by Korean dramas and groups swept through most of China, leaving a deep mark in the domestic entertainment industry. For example, the popular little fresh meats in the entertainment industry were Korean pop idols. There was also the trainee system, the manager system, and so on. Many of them copied the routines and rules of Korea. In recent years, many domestic artists had gone to Korea for training, and a large number of Korean stars came to China to make money. Faced with such a situation, the insightful people in the industry were shouting loudly, and even proposed to boycott the Korean wave. In general, the peak of the Korean wave was basically over. The domestic entertainment industry's ability to imitate and learn was extremely strong. After learning from others, they would naturally have to show off their skills and not let the benefits flow out for nothing. However, that could only be regarded as consolidating the domestic base. Domestic stars had very little influence in Korea, and it was difficult for domestic movies and TV series to be introduced to Korea. The latter market was narrow and closed, with a strong sense of xenophobia. The imported films that had decent ratings in Korea were basically well-produced documentaries and historical films. SPG Entertainment was a large artist planning and management company in South Korea. It was one of the top 3 companies in the industry in terms of scale and strength. It had promoted its HOPSC and other groups to China and had many master-level songwriters and choreographers. Speaking of SPG Entertainment, there was no one in the domestic entertainment industry who did not know of it. Its representative in China actually came to visit in person, wanting to buy the copyright of Autumn in My Heart. If the news got out, it would not be a problem for it to make the entertainment headlines. Returning to Japan and Korea was the dream of many people in the industry. When Lu Chen first created Autumn in My Heart, he had considered the possibility of the series being exported to Korea in advance. That was because in his dream world, the original Autumn was one of the most classic Korean dramas. That was why he did not even change the names of the characters in the series, and that was the hidden ambition. He did not talk about principles, nor did he talk about winning glory for the country. If Autumn in My Heart could enter the Korean market, then he could use this springboard to export it to Japan, and then enter the Southeast Asian market. In other words, the Korean market was the best touchstone. Once it was successful, it would represent vast benefits. Therefore, when he heard this news, Lu Chen was really happy. SPG, KG, and Han-E, the 3 major Korean entertainment companies, all had offices in Beijing. SPG Entertainment was the first to come knocking. If it did not come, then Lu Chen could only consider using Chin Fei-er's connections to contact Korea's KGS TV station. But in this way, he would be in a passive position in the negotiations. Asking for help and being asked were two completely different things. Lu Shi smiled and said, I have already made an appointment with them. They will come over at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Lu Chen nodded and said, let's talk about it. After dinner, Lu Chen sent Lu Shi back to her place, and then returned to his apartment. He called Chen Fei. Chen Fei was one of the few celebrities in China who had a certain level of fame and influence in Korea. She had participated in many Sino-Korean music festivals organized by KGS TV station, and knew a lot about the situation there. As expected, when Lu Chen mentioned SPG, Chen Fei immediately smiled and said, I know. SPG's representative in China is Park Young-ho. He has been in China for almost 10 years, and is a real China expert. Lu Chen's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, what's his personality like? Tomorrow's meeting would definitely involve specific negotiations. Although he really hoped to be able to broadcast Autumn in My Heart in Korea, he would not sign a contract that could only be described as humiliating. In the past, in order to promote their works in Japan and Korea, the contracts they signed were almost free, and they even proudly promoted their works in foreign markets. In the end, it was exposed, and they lost face. Autumn in My Heart had to be sold, and not sold cheaply. Chen Fei said, I have dealt with him a few times, and I have heard some things. This park representative is very familiar with the situation in our country. He has a strong personality, and he can stand his ground and not waver. After listening to Chen Fei's description, Lu Chen felt a little troubled. That person was obviously not an easy person to negotiate with. Chen Fei said again, Park Young-ho has a very good eye, otherwise he wouldn't have been in this position for so many years. Since he has his eyes on our TV series, we can still negotiate. Good luck, young man. Lu Chen couldn't help but laugh. He put aside the topic and continued to talk sweet words to Chen Fei for more than 10 minutes. In the end, Chen Fei was so moved that she almost ran over. Chapter 312. Pu Zhenghao's visit was very low-key. The representative of South Korea's SPG Entertainment Company in China only brought one assistant, and he came directly to visit. He was about 40 years old, slender, and solemn. A pair of narrow eyes hidden behind black-rimmed glasses seemed to flash when he blinked, giving people the impression that he was shrewd and strong. A very difficult person to talk to. Combined with the information he heard from Chen Fei last night, Lu Chen made an intuitive judgment in his heart. Of course, on the surface, he was very polite and enthusiastic. Hello, Mr. Park. Welcome to my studio. Pu Zhenghao held Lu Chen's hand, and a faint smile appeared on his serious face. I've heard a lot about Mr. Lu Chen. Please forgive me for disturbing you. His Chinese was perfect. Apart from being a little stiff, it was hard to tell that he was Korean. Lu Shi smiled and said, Mr. Park is too polite. Please come in and talk. This is? Pu Zhenghao was a little surprised, and his eyes fell on Lu Shi. Lu Chen introduced, this is my agent and my sister, Lu Shi. It's Miss Lu Shi. Pu Zhenghao suddenly understood. He waved to the assistant next to him, and the latter immediately handed over a beautifully packaged box. It's our first time meeting. This is a small gift. Please accept it, Miss Lu Shi. Lu Shi was stunned, but she still accepted the gift. Thank you. Both parties sat down in the reception room, and Xiao Mei served the guests the tea that had been brewed. Pu Zhenghao was not in a hurry to get down to business. Instead, he chatted with Lu Chen and Lu Shi. This was actually a negotiation technique. Through small talk, one could make people relax their vigilance, and then judge the other party's temper and even hobbies. Then, one could use a targeted negotiation strategy. Although Pu Zhenghao looked serious when he came in, he talked about the interesting anecdotes in the entertainment industry. He also praised Lu Chen's original talent and thought that Lu Chen deserved to win the Best Newcomer and Best Composer of the Asian Chinese Top Songs chart. Pu Zhenghao also attended the award ceremony of the Asian Chinese music chart and saw Lu Chen go on the stage to receive the award. Through this exchange, the two parties went from strangers to familiarizing themselves with each other. The atmosphere of the conversation was relaxed and warm. Although Lu Chen had always been wary of Pu Yongho, he had to admit that this middle-aged Korean was quite capable. His speech and mannerisms were impeccable. After talking about the Golden Melody Awards ceremony, Pu Zhenghao talked about Autumn in My Heart. This is the best TV series I've seen this year. The representative from South Korea's SPG Entertainment was not stingy with his praises. Whether it's the plot, the graphics, or the soundtrack, they are all top-notch. I really hope that this drama can be imported to South Korea and be seen by our domestic audience. That's why I'm here. Speaking of this, Pu Zhenghao looked extremely confident. Our SPG Entertainment has a good cooperative relationship with KBS and MBC. KBS and MBC were the number 1 and number 2 TV stations in South Korea. No matter which TV station Autumn in My Heart appeared on, it would be a great success. Different from China, South Korean audiences like to watch variety shows and TV series the most. Moreover, their young people were also used to watching these two shows on TV, unlike China, which had two major markets, the internet and the screen. South Korea's national TV series were phenomenal TV series. The ratings could even reach more than 50%, which was unimaginable in China now. It was about the same 20 to 30 years ago. To be honest, Pu Zhenghao's attitude surprised Lu Chen and Lu Shi. As the saying goes, the buyer is the one who dislikes the goods. During negotiations, it was most common to deliberately lower the evaluation of the other party's goods. Very few people would praise the other party first. However, when it came to the specific terms, both of them realized that they were too naive. Pu Zhenghao's copyright fee for Autumn in My Heart was 800 million won. It sounded like a huge sum, but in fact, it was less than 5 million in domestic currency. As an imported TV series, SPG Entertainment was a middleman. They would definitely make a profit if they sold it to the TV station. Considering the difficulty of entering the South Korean market, this price was really not bad. In the past, there was a large domestic film and television company that invested over 100 million to shoot a 45-episode historical drama. It was sold to South Korea for only 500 million won. Later, it was revealed that the middleman's rebate was as high as 200 million. Autumn in My Heart only had 20 episodes. Even if it was very popular in China, it was definitely worth publicizing to be able to sell it to South Korea at such a price. However, there were conditions. Pu Zhenghao also had his eyes on Lu Chen's new TV series this year and made a request to invest. His appetite was not small. Logically speaking, it was a good thing to have investment, but it also depended on the situation. The super high ratings of Autumn in My Heart, and the impact it has caused in the domestic film and TV market have made Lu Chen's new drama a hot cake in the eyes of countless people. There are a lot of people rushing to send money, and there is no worry about investors at all. With Autumn in My Heart as the bottom, as long as the new TV series wasn't too bad, with just Lu Chen as the main character, profits were inevitable. There was no need to worry about losing money at all. Moreover, once they could invest in it, they would have the right to speak about the actors' roles, which was also a great benefit. SPG Entertainment also trained artists in China and had also participated in the production of many films and variety shows. They deeply understood the doorway. Today, they sent Pu Zhenghao to Lu Chen's studio to discuss the introduction of Autumn in My Heart. The drunkard had ulterior motives. Regarding Pu Zhenghao's request, Lu Chen and Lu Shi looked at each other. They couldn't agree to such a condition. With the success of Autumn in My Heart, Lu Chen was now full of confidence. He didn't mind bringing in investors in the new TV series, but SPG Entertainment wasn't a good choice. Lu Chen knew very well that compared to a big company like SPG Entertainment, even if it was a foreign company, his own studio was at a clear disadvantage. Once they brought in the other party's investment, it was very likely that they would be held back. Most importantly, his current development was first and foremost based in China. It was good to be able to open up the Korean market, but it would be stupid if he lost his own interests because of this. After thinking about it, Lu Chen said to Pu Zhenghao, "Mr. Park, I'm sorry, but I can't agree to this condition." Lu Chen's straightforward refusal made Pu Zhenghao unable to help revealing a look of astonishment. He came full of confidence, believing that he would definitely be able to convince Lu Chen, SPG's investment and the temptation of bringing in Korea, who could resist it? In the end, he never expected Lu Chen to refuse so decisively. Chapter 313. Business negotiations were not child's play, especially when it involved high interests. It often took a battle of wits and courage to reach a final compromise or give up. SPG Entertainment, or rather, Pu Zhenghao, was sincere about importing Autumn in My Heart to South Korea. However, his appetite was too big for Lu Chen to accept. However, the specific conditions could be discussed. Pu Zhenghao's first visit was obviously more to test the waters. Of course, he would be very satisfied if they could negotiate directly. However, Lu Chen's firm attitude towards his own interests had hit a wall. If it was the executives of other Japanese and Korean entertainment companies, they might be very unhappy. Many of them were used to being high and mighty and had a high attitude towards the domestic entertainment industry. They thought that they could casually throw out something and it would attract a group of people to fight over it. Pu Zhenghao was different. He had settled down and worked in China for more than 10 years. He was well versed in China's culture and had a deep understanding of the domestic entertainment industry. Therefore, he knew very well about Lu Chen's strength. In the eyes of the representative of SPG Entertainment's China office, Lu Chen was China's Kim Hyun-ping. Kim Hyun-ping was the most famous artist in South Korea from 2000 to 2010. He had amazing talent and had composed many classic music works. Moreover, he was tall and handsome. The television dramas and movies he had filmed had caused a sensation and had a wide influence throughout Asia. However, 6 years ago, Kim Hyun-ping was not satisfied with the South Korean entertainment industry. He also looked down on the China market and ambitiously went to Hollywood. In the end, he did not make a name for himself there for a few years and became a special supporting role set up by the American film company for the Asian market. He lost a lot of popularity in South Korea. Lu Chen was very similar to Kim Hyun-ping, who had just debuted. They were both talent shows. They were both tall and handsome, both talented, both outstanding musicians, and both young and energetic. Compared to the narrow and competitive market in South Korea, China's entertainment market was too big. It was like a vast ocean that could accommodate the growth of a dragon. Therefore, as long as Lu Chen did not court death, his development potential was limitless. SPG Entertainment being able to establish a good relationship with such a person was equivalent to investing in a stock with high potential. That was why Pu Young-ho offered a high price of 800 million won to purchase Blue in the first round of negotiations to show his sincerity. The conditions he added later were more of a test. It didn't matter if they couldn't come to an agreement. As long as they didn't fall out with each other, they could continue to negotiate. The so-called bottom line was tested step by step like this. It was precisely with such a position that the negotiations between the two sides were relatively harmonious, and there was no situation of swords being drawn. Pu Zhenghao sat in Lu Chen's studio for 2 hours before leaving. After sending off the representative of SPG Entertainment's China office, Lu Chen felt as if he had just finished a battle. He was a little tired. Chen Fei's understanding of Pu Zhenghao was still too simple. This old fox was really hard to deal with. His character was tough, but it wasn't just tough. There was a hint of gentleness in his toughness that hid needles in silk floss. Lu Chen said to Lu Shi, "If there's a chance in the future, I want to poach him." Lu Shi was speechless. She had been Lu Chen's agent for more than half a year, and she knew more and more about the entertainment industry, so she knew very well that a character like Pu Zhenghao was not someone her studio could afford to poach. The domestic entertainment industry was greatly affected by South Korea. Many big companies also poached people from their South Korean counterparts, such as arrangers, choreographers, producers, directors, etc., and there were artists directly. But in general, those who could be poached were basically second or third-rate characters. Pu Zhenghao was the representative of SPG Entertainment's China office, a real high-level figure. If he wanted to change his tune, he would only choose a big company like Flying Stone Records. How could he come to Lu Chen's studio? Lu Chen's idea was too naive. Of course, Lu Chen saw Lu Shi's disapproval. He didn't explain in detail, because now was not the time. It was true that Pu Zhenghao was a senior executive of SPG Entertainment, but this senior executive of SPG was a marginalized figure. He worked hard to expand the market in China. He had worked hard even if he had no credit, but his position had never been moved. Because Pu Zhenghao was not a direct descendant of the current chairman of SPG, but a former confidant. South Korea's corporate system was learned from Japan. When South Korea's economy took off in the 1980s and 1990s, it played a very important role, giving birth to more than a dozen giant companies, such as the famous Samsung. But since entering the new century, with the rapid development of new industries, South Korea's corporate system has been severely impacted by the new culture. The rigid bureaucratic internal management and the promotion path based on seniority, coupled with the power struggle at the top, have caused many companies to close down or face difficult predicaments. SPG was one of the top entertainment companies in South Korea. It had not been established for a long time, and it was also a family-run enterprise. After the chairman who originally appreciated Pu Zhenghao abdicated, he was pressed down in SPG's China office. In fact, in terms of contributions, Pu Zhenghao was fully qualified to return to South Korea to be promoted to a higher position. In addition, Pu Zhenghao was not a pure Korean. His father was a northeastern Korean who had immigrated to South Korea in his early years. This insider information was revealed to Lu Chen by Chen Fei. She had specially inquired about it from an insider, and it was considered an open secret in a certain circle. Many people did not believe that Pu Zhenghao would stay at SPG forever, but so far, he had not shown any signs of leaving SPG. Through the previous conversation, Lu Chen had the most intuitive impression of Pu Zhenghao, and admired his shrewdness. If such a person who was proficient in Chinese and Korean could be recruited, the benefits were self-evident, especially since Lu Chen had always had the ambition to look to the Asian market. Of course, Lu Chen's studio was still too weak now, and it was a little unrealistic to covet a talent like Pu Zhenghao, but opportunities were always given to those who were prepared. Lu Chen said, "Sister, we must negotiate for the location of the art park. It doesn't matter if the price is high." Setting up roots in the art park was a very important step for the studio to expand. It was not just a matter of a larger area, but the most important thing was the location and environment, which were very suitable for the studio's survival and development. Lu Shi nodded. She had already arranged to talk with Yu Jizhong in the afternoon. When it came to the specific contract negotiations, Lu Chen did not participate. However, the subletting went smoothly. Lu Chen brought Chen Xian over to talk with Yu Jizhong for the whole afternoon, and they signed the official contract. The New Era Art Center in Beijing, which was also known as the Art Park, was completed in 2001. The properties there were limited uses, and some of them had been bought out by companies, while the rest were for rent. The place of Yu Jizhong's art studio was rented from the management committee of the art center, but it was a long-term contract, and he had the priority to renew it. Now he was transferring part of the lease to Lu Chen. This was in line with the rules. As long as it did not exceed the limited scope of business, the management committee of the art park allowed subletting. However, the price of Yu Jizhong's original lease was definitely different from the current one. After signing the contract, Lu Shi made a budget that night, calculating the cost of moving the studio. The rent, decoration, recording studio construction, etc., would cost at least 15 million yuan. Then he was entrusting Li Mubai to help him approve the charity fund. The registered capital of 20 million yuan needed to be spent 10 million yuan, and this part of the money could not be touched according to the regulations. In this way, 25 million yuan would be spent, and a new drama would be released this year. The studio's investment would definitely account for a large proportion, so the money earned by Autumn in My Heart would be far from enough. She also specially reminded Lu Chen that he signed the contract of Chen Fei's transfer of the house. Even if he paid off 30 million yuan in 5 years, he still had to pay back 6 million yuan a year. In this way, Lu Chen found that he had become a poor man again, and he owed a lot of debt. Ha ha ha, after listening to Lu Chen's complaints, Chen Fei laughed very happily on the phone. Then you should write a few more songs for others, and then you can earn back the money. As a representative of the new generation of domestic singer-songwriters, and also won 2 awards in the Asian Chinese music chart, Lu Chen was definitely a hot figure in the pop music world, and there were many people who wanted to buy songs from him. If Lu Chen could really make up his mind to write songs, it was really not a problem to earn tens of millions of yuan, because in his memory, there were thousands of excellent music works. It was just that he never thought of being a song wholesaler, and he would not squander this precious wealth at will. On the one hand, it raised the threshold for song invitations, and on the other hand, it also screened the partners for cooperation. Now Lu Chen's studio's offer to the public was 500,000 yuan for a song, which reached the top level in the industry. This offer scared most people away, and it also caused a lot of discussion in the circle. Chen Fei's teasing came from this. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Don't think about others for the time being. Do your album well first. That's the most important thing." "That's really nice. Do you want me to lend you some money?" A woman who fell in love could not listen to sweet words. Chen Fei's EQ and IQ were both coaxed by these words. "You don't have to worry about that contract. It doesn't matter if you give me money later." If Lu Chen was determined to be a gigolo who lived off a woman, he would definitely be very successful. But he just wanted to put on airs. "No need, I can still do it without writing songs." Of course, Lu Chen's self-confidence was not without reason, because as a star, especially a popular star artist, has an important channel to make a lot of money, that is, brand endorsement. And among all the brands that are currently interested in cooperating with Lu Chen, Zhonghua Automobile is undoubtedly the largest. Chapter 314. Lu Chen is very cautious about brand endorsements. Many stars, especially those new artists who have suddenly become popular in recent years, often adopt the strategy of draining the pond to fish when it comes to brand endorsements. They desperately work for notices and advertisements, which is jokingly called double high advertisement in the circle. The emergence of the double high phenomenon, on the one hand, stems from the pressure of some entertainment agencies on contracted artists, squeezing out as much profit as possible during the contract period, and not looking for the future. There are also some artists who are willing to do this, because the competition in the entertainment industry is too fierce. Most artists are under great pressure to survive. If they don't work hard to make money when they are popular, what else can they get once they are out of it? So they desperately accept all kinds of advertisements, even those high-risk endorsements. However, artists who are based on long-term development are often very cautious and thoughtful about brand endorsements. Lu Chen listened to Chen Fei's opinion on brand endorsements. Chen Fei is one of the current domestic advertising queens. She endorses domestic and international big brands, with at least tens of millions of endorsement fees a year. She has rich experience in this regard. The advice that Chen Fei provided to Lu Chen was first to choose carefully, such as financial products, medicine and healthcare products, medical and medical equipment, agricultural products such as seeds, pesticides, breeding and so on. It is best not to touch them. The risk of these advertising endorsements is relatively high. Once there is a problem with the product, it will often affect the reputation of the endorser, and even cause trouble in lawsuits. There are not 1 or 2 stars who have been sued or stumbled because of careless endorsement. Even Chen Fei almost suffered in this regard, so she is now very careful in choosing advertisements. Naturally, she does not want Lu Chen to repeat the mistakes of others. So far, Lu Chen has mainly endorsed 2 brands. One is Whale TV, the other is Senki Apparel, and the cooperation between the two has been very successful. To put it bluntly, the benefits that Lu Chen's endorsement bring to the 2 companies far exceed the remuneration he receives. For this reason, Whale TV and Senki Apparel intend to renew next year, and the new contract will inevitably rise. With the popularity of Autumn in My Heart, the number of brands that came to Lu Chen for advertising cooperation suddenly increased, and the most important one was undoubtedly Zhonghua Automobile. Zhonghua Automobile is one of the oldest and most prestigious domestic automobile brands. Its predecessor can be traced back to 70 years ago. The brand, Zhonghua, was established with the new China. In the early 1950s, Zhonghua Jeep once drove across the Yalu River with the Liberation Truck, and made great achievements in the war to resist the United States and aid Korea, becoming a well-known brand in China. However, since the reform and opening up in the 1980s, foreign brands of cars have entered the domestic market, and the market share of Zhonghua Motors has shrunk dramatically, almost to the verge of bankruptcy. With the support of the country, this national brand finally survived the most difficult period and was reborn through the introduction of technology, independent research, and other methods. After Lu Chen's debut, the first car he bought in Beijing was Zhonghua's newly launched X7. This gasoline-electric hybrid urban SUV could be described as cheap and good, and it was currently driven by Lu Shi. And it was precisely the Zhonghua X7 that Lu Chen bought that made Zhonghua Automobile choose him as the new brand spokesperson. At least that's a very important reason. Of course, as a car company with an annual output of tens of billions, Zhonghua Automobile is very cautious in the choice of brand spokesperson. They chose Lu Chen first because the latter's influence among young people is growing. In addition, Lu Chen's image has always been very good since his debut. Lu Chen won the championship of Singing China, which was also a small factor for Zhonghua Automobile to choose him. Then he participated in Beijing TV's National Day Party and created a positive theme work like, I Love You China. He once bravely saved people regardless of danger, and also raised donations to help fans. Now he is preparing to set up a leukemia charity fund. With all these factors, it's really not a problem to be named one of the top 10 outstanding youths at the provincial and municipal levels. In contrast, how much Lu Chen's solo albums sold and how high the ratings of his TV series were not the key factors. With harsh requirements, the treatment is naturally generous. Zhonghua Automobile offered Lu Chen a 2-year contract of 12 million yuan. Because of the many detailed terms involved, the contract could not be finalized in a day or two. Zhonghua Automobile hoped that Lu Chen could participate in the promotion and publicity activities of their newly launched R-Class station wagon. The specific requirement was to shoot a commercial, and Lu Chen was asked to tailor-make a song for the commercial. Because of the importance of this contract, Lu Chen, together with his studio, focused his current work on Zhonghua Automobile. Lu Shi continued to negotiate with the other party for the most favorable conditions, while he himself was working on creative ideas for Zhonghua Automobile's new product. Station wagons are a derivative of cars derived from the trend of people advocating nature and being keen on tourism. Compared with SUVs and MPVs, their purchase price and use cost are lower, and they have a more dexterous body, which is easy to drive and park. Therefore, they play an important role in the life of people in economically developed countries, especially in Europe. However, in China, station wagons are a niche model. They have not been introduced at all because they are not suitable for the domestic market demand. However, with the improvement of the material living standards of domestic consumers, it has become a new fashion for urban car owners to take family or friends, drive a station wagon, and go on a long trip together on holidays. Especially for young people, driving a station wagon to travel is a very romantic and pretentious thing, and it has been rendered dreamlike by many literary and artistic youths. Similar car travel articles can often be seen in some fashion magazines. Zhonghua Automobile is aiming at this emerging market and launched its first station wagon, the R100. Lu Chen first spent 2 days digesting and studying the relevant information sent by Zhonghua Automobile, and then searched for and browsed a lot of advertisements for foreign station wagons on the internet. During this period, he wrote a song and gave it to Wang Jing to arrange, and let the Nirvana band practice accompaniment. Finally, it took a week for Lu Chen to create and edit a music video to be used as the commercial demonstration of the R100. It was equivalent to doing part of the work that belonged to the advertising company. After that, Lu Chen asked Lu Shi to contact Zhonghua Automobile and demonstrate this music video advertisement to them. Chapter 315. Beijing, CBD Central Business District, Meisher Advertising Company. The morning sun shone through the large format floor-to-ceiling windows and fell into Zhuang Jingwei's office, bright and warm. The creative director of Meisher Advertising Company leaned back in the soft chair, picked up the coffee that his assistant had just brewed and took a sip, and his whole body seemed to warm up. But the mellow coffee didn't help to relieve the depression in his heart, and his frowning eyebrows never relaxed. He didn't even have the mood to pick up the newspaper that he used to read every day. Tap. Tap. The office door was gently knocked. Zhuang Jingwei put down his coffee cup and said in a deep voice, "Come in." The door was pushed open, and a beautiful female assistant leaned in and said, "Director, the people from Zhonghua Automobile and Luchin Studio are here. The general manager asked you to attend the meeting." Zhuang Jingwei nodded and said, "I see." He picked up his coffee cup again. The female assistant hesitated for a moment, but still reminded him, "Director, the general manager asked you to go there immediately." Zhuang Jingwei stared at her and said, "I know, you only have the general manager in your eyes now, and you don't have me, right?" The 40-year-old man's fierce appearance was quite scary, but the female assistant was not afraid at all. She stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, "I have to listen to your words, and I have to listen to the general manager's words. I'll go with you. I heard that Lu Qin himself is also here." Speaking of Lu Qin, her eyes were shining. "I don't know if he is as handsome in real life as he is on TV. There is no doubt that she is also a fan of Autumn in My Heart." Zhuang Jingwei rubbed his eyebrows, waved his hand and said, "Go, go, I'll go." Zhuang Jingwei's assistant is his niece, who is still a senior intern. She just wants to learn something from him. The girl has been spoiled by her family and is not afraid of him. It's useless to scold her with a straight face. So, Zhuang Jingwei decided to send her away when her internship period is over. He really can't afford to serve her. And when he heard the name Lu Qin, Zhuang Jingwei's mood was a little worse. Who is Lu Qin? He has only heard of him by chance before. Now he has understood him clearly. He knows that the other party is a musical talent, a new generation of singer, and has just starred in a TV series with popular ratings, which has fascinated his niece. As the creative director of Meisher Advertising Company, Zhuang Jingwei has known and dealt with a lot of star artists, but he has never seen Lu Qin overconfident. The cause of the matter was the contract between Zhonghua Automobile and Advertising Company. The domestic top 100 companies entrusted the advertising business to Meisher Advertising Company to the new station wagon launched this year, and selected Lu Qin as the brand ambassador. It was very common for stars to endorse advertisements. After understanding the needs of the clients, Meisher Advertising began to work on relevant advertising plans. The first focus was the commercial for the Zhonghua Vision R100 station wagon. When Zhuang Jingwei racked his brains for this commercial and had a preliminary idea, there was suddenly news from Zhonghua Automobile that Lu Qin had personally edited and produced an R100 commercial demo. When Zhuang Jingwei was racking his brains for this commercial and had a preliminary idea, news suddenly came from Zhonghua Automobile that Lu Qin had personally edited and produced an R100 commercial demo. Not only that, but Zhonghua Automobile hoped that Meisher Advertising would take Lu Qin's creativity seriously, and held a tripartite discussion meeting for this group of poor people, and the location was in Meisher Company. Zhuang Jingwei felt that his professional ability had been seriously challenged, and he couldn't bear it. If Lu Qin originally majored in art design and advertising, it would be understandable. But as far as Zhuang Jingwei knew, the entertainment industry rookie majored in computer science in college. Computers and advertising are not completely unrelated, but they are really two different things. Now he has openly brought the so-called commercial demo to Meisher Company. What's the difference between that and going to the door to challenge them? If it's an insider, he can pinch his nose and admit it, but a layman, most importantly, Zhuang Jingwei's painstaking creativity may be wasted. How can he not be depressed and annoyed? In the advertising industry, the most frightening thing is to encounter clients who don't understand and insist on their own opinions, interfering with the creative concept of the company's design, and finally come up with something nondescript. But even if he is annoyed, Zhuang Jingwei can't be willful. Unless he gives up the job, he can't disobey the general manager's order. But on the way to the conference room, he secretly made up his mind to make his voice heard. The conference room of Meisher Advertising Company was almost full of people. Zhuang Jingwei met the person in charge of Zhonghua Automobile, his colleagues, and Lu Chen. Among all of them, Lu Chen is undoubtedly the most conspicuous. He is tall, young and handsome, with a warm and kind smile. Even if he is prejudiced against him, Zhuang Jingwei has to admit that he is a very charming star. This kind of star has his own aura, which can make those fans fascinated. For example, the girl sitting next to the general manager, her eyes were shining like stars, and she almost rushed over to ask for an autograph and a group photo. Director Zhuang is here. Seeing Zhuang Jingwei come in, Kai Jin, the general manager of Meisher Advertising Company, waved and said, "Come here and sit down." Kai Jin, 35 years old, joined Meisher Advertising Company 7 years ago. The elite who returned from overseas studies rose all the way to the general manager's throne and also brought Meisher into the ranks of the 10 4A advertising companies in Beijing. In terms of management skills and ability, Zhuang Jingwei also admires her. He sat down in his seat. Kai Jin gave Zhuang Jingwei a discreet look. Zhuang Jingwei understood what she meant. Kai Jin's management in Meisher has always adhered to an important concept in the service industry, that is, there are two elements in treating customers. The first is, the customer is always right, and the second is, if the customer is wrong, please refer to the first point. This is in conflict with Zhuang Jingwei's professional concept, but it turns out that Kai Jin is right. Advertising is like dancing with shackles. It is necessary to find the most suitable balance point under the heavy shackles of policies and regulations and customer requirements, and then jump out a beautiful dance. There is no doubt about the importance of Zhuang Jingwei's automobile to Meisher Advertising Company. Kai Jin is obviously worried that Zhuang Jingwei, who is a little stubborn, will conflict with the customer's requirements in the creative concept of the R100 commercial. When all the people attending the meeting were present, Kai Jin asked people to close the door of the conference room and turned on the computer projection equipment. She straightened up and said with a smile, "Today, our Meisher Advertising Company is very happy and honored to organize this demonstration discussion of the Zhonghua Vision R100 station wagon commercial. First of all, we welcome Manager Chen Hong from the Publicity Department of Zhonghua Automobile Group. The general manager of Meisher Advertising Company has a dignified and delicate appearance, and speaks in a soft voice, which makes people feel like they are bathing in the spring breeze, but no one who is familiar with her dares to underestimate her ability. Welcome Mr. Lu Chen, who is also the star spokesperson of the Vision R100. Lu Chen stood up and bowed slightly to the crowd. He edited and produced the MV commercial for the station wagon he endorses, which is not what Zhuang Jingwei thought. This meeting was proposed by the people of Zhonghua Automobile after watching the demo film. The reason why the discussion was held at Meisher Advertising Company was that this part of the advertising business was entrusted to this 4A advertising company, and Zhonghua Automobile also needed Meisher Advertising's professional advice. When the polite applause of welcome disappeared, Lu Chen continued, "At the request of Zhonghua Automobile, I wrote a song for the first commercial of the Vision R100. In addition, I also used the material on the internet to edit and make a MV for this song." He smiled and said, "I'm a layman when it comes to advertising. This music video is very crude, and it only represents a little of my personal thoughts. So, I hope that Meta TV can give us their professional opinions so that we can work together to complete this collaboration. Thank you." This time, the applause in the conference room was a lot more sincere and warm, and even Zhuang Jingwei applauded a few times. Lu Chen's words gave him a better impression of the former. At least Lu Chen was very polite. Although his behavior was a little excessive, his attitude was modest and he did not take it for granted that he was in a dominant position. That was in line with his identity as a brand spokesperson, not a planner. After Lu Chen's speech ended, Kai Jin asked his assistant to turn off the lights in the conference room and play the demo through the projection. The general manager of Meisher Advertising was also very curious. He didn't know what kind of work Lu Chen had come up with that could make Zhonghua Automobile put aside the preliminary plan proposed by him and choose a layman's creative idea. The next moment, a colorful picture appeared silently on the projection screen. The dark, vast, and empty prairie appeared in everyone's sight. In the lens, a straight road went straight to the distant sky, which made people feel an indescribable shock. Those who liked travel or scenery recognized at a glance that this was the famous Qinghai-Tibet Sky Road. Then the camera slowly pulled up, and an off-road vehicle appeared in the picture, driving alone into the distance. The prelude of the music sounded softly, and there was Lu Chen singing. It was as if it came from the sky. Wandering, on the road, are you going, via via? Fragile, proud, that was once my appearance. Seething, restless. Where are you going, via via? Enigmatic, silent. Story, are you really listening? Light and shadow flashed, and the picture switched. People sitting in the conference room unconsciously fell into the unique atmosphere created by the MV. The name of this song was The Ordinary Road. Note, The Ordinary Road lyrics, Han Han, Pu Shu / composer, Pu Shu. Chapter 316. I've crossed mountains and seas and passed through a sea of people. I've had everything, in the blink of an eye. It's all gone. I've been lost, disappointed, and lost all direction until I see that ordinary is the only answer. The Ordinary Road was specially made by Lu Chen for the Zhonghua Vision R100 station wagon. It was a typical trip-hop chord breakdown, and the whole song had a strong folk style. The slow lyrical rhythm, clear voice, and low voice made the song full of a touch of warmth and sadness. In the music video edited by Lu Chen using online materials, the car and scenery are the eternal theme. The constantly changing scenery in the picture, as well as his voice entering the ear, and every word entering the heart, reflect each other, showing a strange charm, making people's state of mind can't help but follow the speeding car into the distance. It could let the listener enjoy the feeling of peace and youth, and find the direction of the future in sadness and confusion. I'm just like you, like him, like the weeds and wild flowers, inexorably, this is me, the only way to go. Time is silent, and so on, tomorrow is in Hia, the road the wind blows is still far, where is your story? Surprise and a trace of confusion froze in Zhuang Jingwei's eyes. Before watching this commercial music video, the creative director of Meisher Advertising had a strong doubt about Lu Chen's work. He even couldn't wait to teach Lu Chen a lesson, to let the latter know that not everyone can step in the professional field. But halfway through the music video, Zhuang Jingwei fell silent. From the point of view of commercial production alone, this music video was a mess. The editing was very amateurish, and the transition of the picture was very unnatural. It was completely a novice work. If it was made by a technical staff of Meisher Advertising, Zhuang Jingwei would definitely fire him immediately. However, Zhuang Jingwei was not stupid enough to use this point to attack Lu Chen. Because this was a demo, just like a script sketch used in a movie. The technology was completely irrelevant. The key was creativity, conception, and the theme expressed. On these three most important points, Zhuang Jingwei could not find any big problems. The soundtrack was too good, and the theme song was too good. The target group of the Zhonghua Vision R100 touring car was white-collar elites between the ages of 25 and 40 in the city. They had a certain economic foundation and career, and pursued spiritual freedom and enjoyment. Traveling by car was also one of the characteristics of this social class. Lu Chen's idea for the commercial, or rather, the MV, was undoubtedly able to hit the mark of their spirit. It was sincere and magnanimous enough to portray an extraordinary life journey. The lyrics were deliberately rough, and the rap at the end of the song went straight to the heart, truly expressing the feelings of the target group. It was a wonderful song of life with rich emotions. Even Zhuang Jingwei couldn't help but want to go out for a walk as he listened and watched. Unlike ordinary car commercials, there was no explanation of the car model's advantages and configuration, and there was no introduction of the product itself. The film reflected a strong emotion. This was the only way to move people's hearts. At the end of the film, as the song disappeared, the screen turned completely dark, and a paragraph of advertising slogans silently condensed. The body has not moved, but the heart is already far away. Then the advertising slogan faded away, and the logos of Zhonghua Automobile and Vision R100 quietly appeared. The picture froze. The conference room was silent, and time seemed to freeze at this moment. After a while, no one knew who took the lead in applauding, and then the applause rang out. Half of the people present were managers of Meisher Advertising. As practitioners in the advertising industry, even if they didn't think as deeply and carefully as Zhuang Jingwei, they could still judge the quality of an advertisement. From a creative point of view alone, the idea of this MV was not particularly novel and unique. Even if it was carefully produced at a huge cost, it was estimated that it would not win any awards in foreign awards. However, its theme idea and product fit extremely well, especially the theme song, which was perfect. It would definitely be an excellent advertising work in the domestic market. If Lu Chen's popularity was taken into account, its influence could not be underestimated. What made the advertising people, including Zhuang Jingwei, speechless was that the idea and editing of this demo was actually a singer-artist, not an elite in their industry. This made people feel ashamed. After applauding, Kai Jin asked Zhuang Jingwei, "Director Zhuang, do you have any opinion?" Zhuang Jingwei thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, "The idea are very good, the theme song is first class, and the general direction does not need to be changed. As long as it is reshot according to the idea, it will definitely be an excellent advertisement. I have full confidence in this." He looked at Lu Chen and sighed sincerely, "Mr. Lu Chen, it's an honor for me and our Meisher Advertising to cooperate with an excellent artist like you." Zhuang Jingwei's words made everyone's faces smile. The people in Zhonghua Automobile had already seen the demo, and now the negotiation needed professional advice. Getting the praise and approval of Meisher Advertising proved that their vision was right and they had chosen the right brand ambassador. Time is money, and the sooner the commercial is shot, the better it is for the promotion of the new model. Zhuang Jingwei's colleagues have never seen him so convinced by a layman before, and they all feel that it's interesting, and they can talk about it as an interesting story in the future. As for Lu Shi, who accompanied Lu Chen, she was even happier. In this way, the endorsement contract of Zhonghua Automobile will be stable. She is also proud of Lu Chen. With one song and one edited MV, Lu Chen easily convinced the two powerful collaborators. Lu Chen said with a smile, "Thank you. It's also my honor to cooperate with Zhonghua Automobile and Meisher Advertising." There was no tit-for-tat debate, no scheming quarrel. The atmosphere of the discussion between the three parties was very harmonious. The representative of Zhonghua Automobile confirmed the idea and creativity of the commercial on the spot, and then talked about the specific shooting issues. Lu Chen used online materials for editing. Most of them are movies from home and abroad. None of them can be used because of copyright issues. In addition to the alternative purchased materials, many shots need to be shot. As one of the protagonists, Lu Chen is naturally indispensable, and communication in advance is very important. The next day, Lu Chen's studio signed a formal endorsement contract with Zhonghua Automobile. 2 years of 12 million, not including the remuneration for work outside the contract. For example, this song, "The Ordinary Road," Zhonghua Automobile needs to pay an additional 500,000 to buy the copyright. With the first endorsement fee in the account, the financial situation of the studio has finally improved a lot. The shooting of a new TV series has also been put on the agenda. But before that, Lu Chen has an important event to participate in, that is, the 72-hour music festival. Chapter 317. February 22nd is the Lantern Festival. On the 15th day of the first lunar month, the Lunar New Year's festival is officially over, and major colleges and universities are about to open. The whole society will then re-enter the fast pace of daily life. After signing the endorsement contract with Zhonghua Automobile, Lu Shi helped Lu Chen win 2 advertising contracts with Thunderbird Watch and Lanjia Cosmetics, earning another 10 million. The funds for shooting the new drama are basically no longer a problem, but Lu Chen is not in a hurry to announce the shooting plan. On the day of the Lantern Festival, he came to his new home. The new house that Chen Fei transferred to Lu Chen is in the Zichang Yuan district in Beijing. Zicheng Yuan was developed by Bandung, the leader of the domestic real estate industry. The location of the building is between the 3rd Ring Road and the 2nd Ring Road, not far from Yuantan Park. The construction was completed in 2007, and it is a real high-quality and high-priced property. The house is in room 1701 of Building 7, with a total of 300 square meters on the upper and lower floors, with a layout of 5 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, and 3 bathrooms. Compared with the single apartment that Lu Chen is currently renting, the conditions are simply worlds apart. The most important thing is that the management of the Zicheng Yuan district is excellent. Lu Chen basically doesn't have to worry about being harassed by paparazzi. Of course, the property management fee is also quite expensive. Considering that the Zicheng Yuan district is also very close to the New Era Art Park, Lu Chen decided to move in after signing the sublease contract there. The house has been officially transferred to his name. Since Chen Fei has already renovated the house, he can move in directly as long as he brings his belongings over, which is very convenient. The decoration of the new house is very good. It can be seen that it was designed by a famous designer. The simple European style coupled with the rather artistic decoration makes people feel comfortable living here. There are 2 rooms on the 1st floor, a living room, a kitchen, a dining room, and a bathroom. The living room is very large, and it is no problem to invite 3 or 5 friends to hold a small party. The kitchen and dining room are abnormally clean and have no signs of being used. The sofa, furniture, kitchen, bathroom, and home appliances were all equipped with famous brands. Although Lu Chen did not know much about renovation, he could tell that Chen Fei had spent at least 2 or 3 million on this house. The price of a house in Zicheng Garden was at least 100,000 yuan. This house with a first-class floor and a first-class design was definitely a discount for him. It was truly the price of a friend. Of course, compared to the price at which she bought it, she made a huge profit. In recent years, the housing prices in the capital had been rising rapidly. Even outside the 5th Ring Road, the price was 20 to 30,000 yuan. It had reached a point where ordinary people could not afford it. If Lu Chen hadn't been lucky enough to embark on this path, he wouldn't have been able to afford a house in Ji Province, which was adjacent to the capital, let alone a house in Zicheng Park. I've only stayed here a few times, but I've arranged for people to clean it regularly, so it's very clean. Chen Fei smiled as he pulled Lu Chen's hand and said, "I'll go upstairs and take a look." Today, she brought Lu Chen to look at the house. She was so happy that it was as if she had just bought a big new house. As a music queen with an annual income of tens of millions or even hundreds of millions, Chen Fei simply had a soft spot for real estate. She never invested the money she earned into any financial products. Most of it was invested in real estate. She had many villas, commercial houses, and shops under her name. Facts had proven that this conservative investment method had brought her huge profits that exceeded her own business. With money, she could be willful. In addition, she had a wide network of contacts in the entertainment circle. Therefore, Chen Fei could control her career and fate in her own hands. She didn't need to rely on any management company. Compared to most artists, she lived more freely. As they walked up the spiral staircase, Chen Fei smiled mysteriously. "I've prepared a gift for you." Lu Chen was curious. "What gift?" Chen Fei giggled and didn't answer. Upstairs, it was another special world. The small hall connected to the staircase had been transformed into a small bar and tea room. Outside, there was a scenic balcony full of all kinds of green potted plants. People couldn't help but want to sit down and drink tea while reading a book. At the same time, they could also enjoy the bustling scenery of the capital. Opposite the small bar, there was a brand new upright piano. The golden harp logo branded on the body of the piano flashed with a faint light, clearly indicating its value. This expensive Steinway piano was a housewarming gift from Chen Fei to Lu Chen. Lu Chen was surprised. "Thank you." Chen Fei rolled her eyes at Lu Chen as if she was blaming him for being polite. Lu Chen chuckled, reached out and hugged Chen Fei's willowy waist, and bent down to kiss her soft lips. It was a long kiss full of emotion and affection. It didn't end until Chen Feier's face turned red. She pushed Lu Chen shyly and said, "Try the piano." Lu Chen nodded, sat in front of the piano, opened the lid, and tried the timbre and intonation first. The timbre of the Steinway piano, which was worth hundreds of thousands of yuan, was excellent. Although the vertical model was not as good as the triangle model, it was already a luxury configuration for home use. The intonation had also been adjusted by professionals. At least, Lu Chen couldn't hear any problems. Although he had obtained countless precious memories in the dream world, Lu Chen had never thought of relying on these wealth to eat and wait for death. He had been working hard to improve his abilities in all aspects and had never stopped learning. For example, Lu Chen's original level was not much better than that of a beginner, but now it was not a big problem for him to take the amateur level 8 or 9 exam, and there was still a lot of room for improvement in the future. Putting aside the dream memories, Lu Chen was still very talented in music. Chen Feier said, "Play a song." Lu Chen asked, "I'll play and you'll sing?" Chen Feier thought for a moment and replied, "You play and sing by yourself, and I'll record it for you." She really took out her mobile phone, turned on the recording function, and began to record Lu Chen. Lu Chen couldn't help laughing. He sat up straight, pressed his fingers on the smooth keys, and said very seriously, "This song is for the most beautiful, intelligent, and proud Miss Chen Feier." Chen Feier's hands couldn't help shaking. She held back her laughter, held the mobile phone again, and continued to record. However, Lu Chen played the prelude. To Chen Feier's surprise, although the melody played by Lu Chen was very beautiful, it was very strange. This was a new work. Although she had long been accustomed to Lu Chen's seemingly endless musical inspiration, at this moment, Chen Feier still felt very surprised. This song was specially for her. "Here, winter, leave, I wake up in a certain year and a certain month. I think, I wait, I look forward to, but the future can't be arranged for this. Cloudy day, evening, outside the car window, there's a person waiting in the future. Looking left, right, forward, love has to turn a few corners to come. Who I meet, what kind of dialogue will I have, how far in the future the person I'm waiting for is, I hear the wind from the subway and the sea of people, I line up to hold the number plate of love." Beautiful melody, bright style, simple lyrics. Although there was a trace of melancholy and sadness in the lyrics, it was sung by Lu Chen extremely affectionate, more like the pursuit and persistence of love. Chen Feier was the only audience. Listening to this song, her eyes quietly appeared intoxicating softness. "I fly forward, flying over a sea of time, we have also been heard in love, I see that the entrance of the dream is a little narrow, I met you is the most beautiful accident. One day my mystery will be revealed." When Lu Chen sang, "I met you is the most beautiful accident," he looked back at Chen Feier. "Meeting you is the most beautiful accident." Chen Feier bit her lips, wanting to cry and laugh at the same time. She wanted to throw herself into his arms even more. She stopped recording, put down her phone, and looked at Lu Chen's eyes. Their lingering feelings silently met in the air. Lu Chen only sang this song once. After singing, he stood up and asked Chen Feier, "Do you like it?" Chen Feier threw herself directly into his arms and couldn't wait to give him a hot kiss. After kissing for a long time, the two sat together on the sofa. Chen Feier leaned against Lu Chen's arms, playing with her phone and asked, "What's the name of this song?" Lu Chen replied, Meeting, Meeting." Chen Fei chewed the name of the song softly, and suddenly opened her mouth to sing, "I fly forward, I fly across a sea of time, we have also been heard in love, I see that the entrance of the road is a little narrow, I meet you is the most beautiful accident." Her memory was very good. She sang without missing a single word, and her pitch was also very accurate. Lu Chen was greatly impressed, because Chen Feier had heard the cover once, which was very close to the original singer in his memory, and her natural voice very well expressed the artistic conception of the song. "TN, the sound of nature means a lot. Do you think it's good for me to put this song in the new album?" Lu Chen smiled and said, "It's good that you like it." The song for Chen Feier's new album had been decided, but if she liked it, it didn't matter if she changed it. Chen Fei happily opened the video meeting that she had just recorded on her mobile phone and watched it again. After watching it, she suddenly had an idea. What do you think if I post this video on my blog? Lu Chen was stunned, and then immediately smiled and said, "It's good that you like it. This should have been a very private video. If it was posted on a blog, the relationship between the two would almost be semi-public, and it would definitely not be hidden." But what did it matter? It would happen sooner or later, and now was not the time to say that it was not the right time. The popularity of Autumn in My Heart made Lu Chen and Chen Fei the best couple in the eyes of fans, and many people on the internet shouted that they should be together. Hearing his answer, Chen Fei looked up at Lu Chen and asked, "Really?" Lu Chen nodded and said, "Really?" Chen Fei smiled, selected the title of the video, and forwarded it to her associated blog. After uploading it, she seemed to have completed a big thing. She threw the mobile phone away, then stood up and pulled Lu Chen and said, "Let's go and see the bedroom." Note, meeting lyricist, Yi Jiayang / composer, Lin Yifeng. Chapter 318. The 300 square meter high-class apartment was a super luxury level, comparable to an ordinary villa. The space on the upper and lower floors was very large, and the master bedroom was no exception. It was connected to a bathroom and a cloakroom. The adjacent room had been renovated into a study, and even the computer was ready-made. Chen Fei was very careful. Although she had not lived in this house for many years, there were still a lot of traces of living there. She had deliberately changed the bed sheets, quilts, furnishings and other items, so that the bedroom did not look like a boudoir. But there was still a photo of her on the bedside table. The diva of the music industry was like a child showing off her favorite toy. She pulled Lu Chen around the 3 rooms upstairs and asked, "Do you like it?" Lu Chen hugged her and said with a smile, "I like it, but it's too big and empty to live alone." Chen Fei said, "You can ask Sister Lu Shi to come and live with you, as well as Auntie and Lu Shui. In the future, you can ask Lu Shui to come to Beijing to study. Even if her grades are not good, she can still go to a good university." Lu Chen sighed, "They won't come. In fact, you are still missing one person." Chen Fei was puzzled. "Who?" Lu Chen said with a smile, "Don't you think this house is missing a hostess?" Chen Fei suddenly understood, and her pretty face turned red. "What does that have to do with me?" Lu Chen showed a thoughtful look and said, "Do you think I don't have to pay the 30 million yuan I owe you if I bring you in?" Chen Fei said with a smile, "In your dreams. I regret letting you pay me in installments. Pay me back quickly." Lu Chen finally revealed his ferocious face. He pressed Chen Fei down on the soft big bed and said fiercely, "It's too late to regret. Now you are in my hands. No one can save you even if you shout yourself hoarse." Chen Fei shouted, "Help," pressing down on her graceful body, smelling her enchanting fragrance, and listening to her soft and enchanting cries for help. Lu Chen could no longer restrain the passion in his heart, and once again deeply kissed her. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became incomparably charming. Just as the two of them were fooling around, the comments section of Chen Fei's Waves blog exploded. Chen Fei had more than 20 million fans on Waves blog. Usually, one of her blog posts would have tens of thousands of reposts and hundreds of thousands of comments. After Autumn in My Heart was broadcasted, it attracted a large number of Fei fans. There were more and more people paying attention to the movements of the heavenly queen of the music industry. Therefore, once the blog post titled "Meeting" was posted, it immediately attracted the attention of countless fans. When the fans clicked on the blog post, they found that the content was neither a selfie of Chen Fei, nor a sharing of work itineraries, or life experiences. It was actually a video of Lu Chen playing and singing. Autumn in My Heart had set a record for the ratings of domestic TV series in recent years. It made Lu Chen and Chen Fei a trend to become domestic couple idols. The relationship between the two had always been one of the topics that fans liked to talk about. Some people said that Lu Chen and Chen Fei were teachers and friends. They were like sister and brother. They had a very good relationship, but they were not a real couple. Some people said that the two had been dating for a long time, but they had not made it public. In addition to some media speculation, Lu Chen and Chen Fei had not released any private photos to confirm this scandal. Lu Chen's name and photos have also appeared in Chen Fei's blog, but they are basically related to work, music, or the kind of friendship that looks very simple. Now, the blog post that Chen Fei posted was undoubtedly very unusual. The video in the blog post was undoubtedly shot by Chen Fei himself. The shooting technique was not very good, but because the phone was good, the video was still very clear. First of all, the scene was definitely not a public place. From beginning to end, there was only Lu Chen in the camera. This song is for the most beautiful, intelligent, and proud Miss Chen Fei. Before he started playing the piano, Lu Chen's words were not like those of ordinary friends. They were full of love. Most importantly, when he was about to finish singing, he looked back at Chen Fei. The deep love in his eyes could be seen by anyone who was not blind. Meeting you is the most beautiful accident. Didn't this song sing Lu Chen's heart? Not to mention that Chen Fei took the initiative to upload the video to his blog. It was obvious that he wanted to announce their relationship. How could her fans not explode? He finally made it public. I knew it. Is this a public display of affection? It's killing the single dogs. 555, Fei is my goddess. Why do all goddesses have to leave me? Juanxi and Unhui are really together. Throw flowers to celebrate. Whose house is this? This is a love song that Lu Chen gave to Chen Fei. It's really nice. You're very touched, aren't you? Don't hold me back, I'm already on the balcony. Bless. In just half an hour, meeting received more than 100,000 comments. They were all reposted by netizens, including Chen Fei's friends in the circle, further spreading its influence. Although the number of Lu Chen's fans was not as many as Chen Fei's, it was still more than 15 million. Many fans were fans of both of them, so if there was any movement on one side, the other side would know immediately. The reaction of Lu Chen's fans was even more intense. Haha, Big Lu Chen is mighty. I've already said it. Now you have nothing to say, right? It's obvious that they're in a relationship. Humph, showing off your love will die faster. My Lu Chen will not be snatched away. Chen Fei and Lu Chen are really a good match. Let's bless them together. Don't be jealous. Burn the heterosexual to death. Gay is true love. What an unexpected surprise. I hope that the relationship between the two of you will last a long time. Bless them. It's the Lantern Festival. Is it really okay for the two of you to do this? Sigh, I didn't expect Lu Chen, who has thick eyebrows and big eyes, to betray the revolution. Most of the fans of Chen Fei and Lu Chen were pleasantly surprised by the PDA video that was suddenly released by her. Then, they gave their blessings. Only a small number of people were disappointed, dissatisfied, or cursed. In fact, basically, not many people were surprised. After all, there was so much foreshadowing. Coupled with the success of Autumn in My Heart, perhaps the real surprise was that the two of them did not end up together. There was also a small number of fans who thought that the two of them were shooting a commercial or a music video. However, this kind of unconvincing idea did not even cause a bubble to bubble. Compared to the explosive fans, the reaction of the people in the entertainment industry was undoubtedly much more cautious. After all, the two of them did not make an official statement. In order to avoid making a mistake, they temporarily took a wait-and-see attitude. Another explosion was the media. No one would have thought that Chen Fei would suddenly make such big news during the Lantern Festival. Therefore, the phones of the two's agents were soon exploding with calls. Chapter 319. Night fell slowly, and the capital was already brightly lit during the Lantern Festival. Room 1701 of Building 7 of Zicheng Garden was dark. A mobile phone that had been left between the cushions of the leisure sofa buzzed rhythmically, and the caller ID flashed red frequently. The phone rang for a long time, but no one picked it up and turned it on. Just when it calmed down, another mobile phone on the floor of the master bedroom rang again. However, no matter how hard it tried to call out to its owner, there was no response. The master bedroom was very dark. On the 2-meter-wide bed, the thick down quilt was swaying violently. Suddenly, a foot popped out from under the quilt, trembling slightly in the cold air. This foot was still dazzlingly white in the twilight. It was exquisite and round, and its skin was as translucent as jade. The arch of the foot was arched and the toes trembled. The round and bulging toes, coupled with the light pink toenails, looked very cute. The owner of the foot seemed to be going through a fierce battle. Sometimes it trembled, sometimes it curled up, sometimes it tensed up, and sometimes it relaxed. It stretched and bent its toes helplessly, trying to catch something, like a panicked drowning person. No one knew when it started, but a low moan sounded in the quiet bedroom. It was as soft as a flute, but it also sounded like the wail of a swan on the verge of death. There was a trace of unbearable pain, but it was extremely weak. Soon, it started again. It was like the sound of nature that could captivate one's soul, and there was an indescribable joy in it. In the midst of it, there was also the sound of heavy breathing, like a ferocious beast preying on its prey. The movement on the big bed lasted for a long time, accompanied by an uncontrollable scream. The exposed foot, which had already been covered with goosebumps, finally retracted under the quilt. Thus, there was only the sound of breathing in the room, and the thick and gentle spring scenery gradually spread out and blended into the night. After a long time, a figure crawled out of the warm quilt. He landed on the floor with bare feet, bent over to pick up the phone that was half hidden in his trouser pocket, and then quickly hid back on the bed, leaning against the headboard to look at the caller ID. "What's wrong?" Chen Feier poked her head out from under the blanket. The beautiful face of the heavenly queen of the music industry was flushed with shyness. There were still traces of tears in the corners of her eyes. Her hair was messy and sweaty, making her look even more seductive. Lu Chen reached out and pulled the beauty into his arms. He kissed her cheeks lovingly and said guiltily, "Sister called me a few times just now." It wasn't just a few, the screen showed more than 10 missed calls. Chen Fei shrunk his head and said embarrassedly, "Sister Zhang must have called me." Sister Zhang was Chen Fei's assistant for 10 years. She was also her manager. Sister Zhang usually handled the external affairs of Chen Fei's studio, including media contacts. She half-disclosed her relationship with Lu Chen in a moment of willfulness, which must have caused a sensation on the blog. It was inevitable that Lu Shi and Sister Zhang would call to ask about it. "You two started a fire, so you should at least give me an explanation, right?" However, Chen Feier didn't have the slightest regret in her heart. The result of a moment of passion was out of control. She did shameless things with Lu Chen in this new house to transform herself into a real woman. She had long been mature, but she didn't know how wonderful it was to be a woman until now. Lu Chen chuckled, dialed the number with one hand, and groped restlessly with the other. He simply couldn't stop himself. Chen Feier felt Lu Chen's hot palm caressing her skin, bringing with it a familiar hot feeling. She couldn't help but let out a soft moan, and her eyes were so charming that tears were about to drip out. She was in love and shy at the same time. She bitterly opened her cherry mouth and bit Lu Chen's shoulder. Hiss! Lu Chen couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, so ruthless. However, at this time, he had already dialed Lu Shi's number. Even if he wanted to take revenge, he had to endure it first. "Sister," this phone call lasted for more than 10 minutes, and Lu Chen was scolded half to death by Lu Shi. As a star artist, the problem of love was very important. Even if they wanted to make their relationship public, they had to arrange a plan first. At least, they had to let the company and the agent know so that they could deal with the media together. Chen Feier's blog post was very sudden. After posting it, she didn't care what kind of storm it would set off. She just immersed herself in the sweet sea of love. It was also willful. The main reason was that both of them opened their own studios and were in charge of their own affairs. Unlike many artists who were controlled by entertainment agencies above them, they had to report and approve their relationship. However, in this way, their studios were naturally caught unprepared. Sister Zhang and Lu Shi could only deal with the storm-like interview requests of the media while calling the two of them. As a result, no one picked up after a long time. According to Lu Shi, it was too unreliable. If Lu Chen hadn't made this phone call, Sister Zhang and Lu Shi would have run to Zicheng Yuan to catch them in the act. Lu Shi knew that Lu Chen had come here to look at a house. Combined with the video on the blog, how could she not understand what was going on? In the face of his sister's anger, Lu Chen could only bow his head and admit his mistake, not daring to refute a word. "I'm wrong, I'm guilty." However, he didn't regret it at all. After scolding him, Lu Shi was probably in a good mood. She asked, "Is Fei with you?" Lu Chen answered honestly, "Yes." Lu Shi hesitated for a moment and asked again, "Are you two like that?" "Like that? I see." Although Lu Chen was thick-skinned, he couldn't help but blush. The topic was too sensitive. He didn't know how to answer it, so he could only wait in silence. Lu Shi snorted and said, "I knew you. Forget it, give the phone to Fei. Sister Zhang wants to talk." Lu Chen handed the phone to Chen Fei, embarrassedly. "Sister Zhang is looking for you." Chen Fei stuck out her tongue and took the phone. Sister Zhang, she was also complained about by Sister Zhang, but she finally got over it. After taking back the phone, Lu Chen directly pressed the power button and turned off the phone. He didn't want to be disturbed tonight. Just as he threw the phone aside, Lu Chen suddenly felt something strange on his chest. He looked down and saw Chen Fei, moving her slender fingers and drawing circles on her chest. She stared at Lu Chen with her big watery eyes, which were full of endless charm. The heavenly queen giggled and asked softly, "Are you hungry? I'll cook something for you." Seductress. Lu Chen couldn't help but growl and immediately pressed Chen Fei under his body. "Have a taste of my staff first." At 9:00 on the night of the Lantern Festival, Lu Chen's studio and Chen Fei studio issued statements one after another, confirming that Lu Chen and Chen Fei were currently in the process of dating, and sincerely hoped to get everyone's blessing. At 10:30, Lu Chen FMX published an article called, "My Meeting with You is the Most Beautiful Accident." The content of the article was a stills of "Autumn in My Heart." In the photo, Yin Juanxi, played by Lu Chen, and Yinanxi, played by Chen Fei, snuggled up to each other and smiled brilliantly in the sun. At the same time, Chen Fei and Chen Fei replied with a smiley face emoji. At this point, the relationship between the two was completely exposed, and at the same time, they also received the warm blessings of countless fans. Although a small number of fans expressed disappointment, loss, and even sadness and dissatisfaction, because of the previous foreshadowing, coupled with the huge influence of "Autumn in My Heart," everyone actually expected and prepared in their hearts. Many people even eagerly hoped that they could be together, so they felt very surprised. The most worrisome situation of excessive fan emotions did not happen. Lu Chen and Chen Fei first met on the talent show, Singing China, on Beijing television. At that time, one was a contestant and the other was a mentor. However, they have known and fallen in love all the way to the present, which has undoubtedly become a popular story in the pop music world. No one knows how long their relationship will last, but friends in the circle and other celebrity artists they know or don't know have also sent their best wishes, making this topic quickly occupy the top of the blog hot search list. Without any suspense, by the next day, Lu Chen and Chen Fei's relationship became the entertainment headlines. QQ, make an appointment on the Lantern Festival. Lu Chen and Chen Fei officially opened their relationship. Title Web, it's no longer just a scandal, the truth of Chen Fei's love comes to light. EasyNet, seeing sibling love again, Lu Chen and Chen Fei no longer hide and calmly face millions of fans. Entertainment Weekly, fake drama becomes real, Lu Chen and Chen Fei reveal the secret of love. News headline, the perfect combination of a heavenly queen and a musical genius. Xinjiang Daily, encounter is a beautiful love. Pop music, Many media outlets dug out the previous information of Lu Chen and Chen Fei, pieced together the love route of the two, and matched it with all kinds of exaggerated words, which also attracted enough attention. More media outlets sent reporters to squat at the door of Lu Chen's studio and Chen Fei, studio, hoping to be able to stop the two parties and interview first-hand information. But these media reporters were disappointed. Both studios refused their interviews, and Lu Chen and Chen Fei were nowhere to be seen, as if they had evaporated from the world. Because whether it is Lu Chen or Chen Fei, they do not need to use their own relationship to hype up, turning the beautiful relationship between them into a tool for profit, and they do not want to become the hot topic of the media. There are countless news happening in the entertainment industry every day. As long as the two do not cooperate, this topic will naturally subside and no longer become the focus of people's attention. And Lu Chen and Chen Fei can quietly enjoy the time of their love. They left their never-ending work, threw the daily affairs to their respective agents, and quietly ran to Bali for a sweet vacation. It was not until March 2nd that Lu Chen and Chen Fei returned to Beijing. 2 days later, on March 4th, is the opening day of the most famous 72H Grass Music Festival in China. At that time, Lu Chen will lead the Nirvana band to perform. Chapter 320. With the passage of time, the hot news in the entertainment industry is like a summer storm, coming and going quickly. Because the two studios did not cooperate, and the two parties did not hype up the disappearance of Player, so except for the fans who were still noisy on the internet, the media quickly shifted their attention and were too lazy to continue to be self-sentimental. There was too much gossip in the circle. Here the two female stars were fighting, and there was a rumor that a male star was coming out of the closet. True and false hype and acting, there was as much material as he wanted. When Lu Chen and Chen Fei broke up one day, or one of them cheated, then it would be worth reporting. And this was exactly what Lu Chen and Chen Fei expected. They waited until the storm subsided before quietly returning to China. During this period, they did not show their love on the blog. In addition to cooling down the topic, it was also to avoid killing the single dogs. Beautiful time always passes quickly. After returning to Beijing, the two had to separate again and busy themselves with their respective careers. Although she loves Lu Chen, and her own wealth has accumulated to the point where it can't be spent in a lifetime, Chen Fei has no idea of quitting the entertainment industry for the time being. She likes singing, likes acting, likes standing in the spotlight, likes her career, and doesn't want to be reduced to a housewife early. Perhaps one day, when she is tired, she will marry Lu Chen without regrets and retire from the circle forever. She will wash away the prosperity and make soup with her bare hands. She will give birth to several children and accompany them to grow old happily. Lu Chen is very supportive of Chen Fei's idea. His career has just started, and it is the time for him to show his ambition. He does not want to mix feelings and career together. Only when two people understand and support each other can their relationship last and blossom and bear fruit. The separation and reunion in the entertainment industry is too common. Neither Lu Chen nor Chen Fei wants to be one of them. On the day he returned to Beijing, Chen Fei began recording the new album. Lu Chen, on the other hand, took the time to practice his new work with the Nirvana band, preparing to participate in the 72H Grass Music Festival. For this famous music carnival, he had written 2 new songs early. The 72H Grass Music Festival was founded in the early 1990s by a number of record companies and 7 famous musicians in the circle. At that time, the first music festival was held in Chaoyang Park in Beijing. The first music festival invited 32 singers and 11 bands to participate. More than 10,000 people came to attend the festival, which caused a great sensation at that time and became a grand event in pop music. By March 3rd, in Yeshan Park, south of the New Era Art Park, countless red and green tents had been erected, extending from the grass in front of the stage to the hillside hundreds of meters away. Looking down from above, the scene was spectacular. The singing stage was basically built, and the background and lighting were arranged. Only the sound equipment had not yet entered the venue. On the morning of the 4th, which was the opening day, 6 pairs of outdoor speakers taller than a person were placed in different positions. The big LED screen in the background of the stage began to play the test film, and the atmosphere suddenly became lively. More and more music fans appeared at the scene, and the entrances and exits of the park began to restrict the flow of people. There was also a cordon in the distance. The loudspeaker had been playing reminders, and media reporters appeared in the crowd. Lu Chen and the Nirvana band arrived at Yeshan Park near noon. Originally, Lu Chen didn't have to come so early, because his performance time was arranged at about 8:00 in the evening, and it was not too late to come when it was dark. However, he had long admired the name of 72H Grass Music Festival. He had never had the opportunity to come to the capital to see the scene. This time, he had the opportunity to participate in person, so he came in advance to recharge his faith. As for Wang Jing and other members of the Nirvana band, they had all seen the scene, but it was also the first time they went on stage, and they were also very excited and even excited. When Lu Chen just appeared in front of the stage with his people, he was immediately stared at. Chapter 321. Teacher Lu Chen. When Lu Chen walked toward the backstage, a vigorous figure flew over and blocked his way. Fortunately, Lu Chen's reaction was fast enough and stopped in an instant. Otherwise, he would have directly collided with the other party. You are? The person who blocked his way was a young girl in her early 20s. She was wearing a red down jacket with the logo of the 72H Grass Music Festival. Her appearance was ordinary, but she had a ponytail and looked very youthful and lively. Even the few freckles on her face revealed a bit of cuteness. There was an identity nameplate with an anti-counterfeiting logo hanging on her chest, and there was a cameraman following behind her. The ponytail girl was obviously very excited. Big eyes were full of excitement. She raised the microphone in her hand and pointed it at Lu Chen. She asked a series of questions. Hello, Teacher Lu Chen. I'm a reporter from the entertainment channel of Tide Network. What works have you prepared for this music festival? Do you have any plans to release a new album this year? Also, are you going to make a sequel to Blue Love? Can you talk about your relationship with Chen Fei? Stop. Lu Chen was a little dizzy from the bombardment of her series of questions. He quickly made a stop gesture. Lu Chen smiled bitterly and said, "Can you ask them one by one?" Tide Network was one of the large portal websites in China. It was also a local internet giant company in Beijing. It was currently listed on Nasdaq in the United States and had considerable influence. Therefore, Lu Chen had to give some face, even if the other party seemed to be a completely reckless newcomer. It was a very profound knowledge for star artists to deal with the media, and he was still learning. The ponytail girl's face turned red. She took a deep breath and said embarrassedly, "I like your songs very much and the TV series you made. I'm also your loyal fan." She also knew that she was a little reckless just now, so she quickly explained a few words so as not to annoy Lu Chen. Stars hated entertainment reporters, but they were often willing to give some face to an entertainment reporter who was a part-time loyal fan. This little trick was taught by her predecessor, but she was really a fan of Lu Chen. Some time ago, when Lu Chen and Chen Fei announced their relationship, and when the media hyped it up, the two played the game of disappearing from the world and avoided the interview to quickly cool down the topic. But this didn't mean that this topic didn't sell. For the ponytail girl who was still a newcomer, being able to catch Lu Chen at the 72H Grass Music Festival today was like a big pie falling from the sky. She felt dizzy, so she was too excited and didn't pay attention to her words. If Lu Chen was scared away, the news would come to her. Her explanation was really effective. Lu Chen smiled and said, "For the sake of fans, what do you want to ask?" Lu Chen said. Lu Chen. Lu Chen. Lu Chen. Lu Chen nodded. Lu Chen nodded and said, "Okay, I'll be there in a minute." The 72H Grass Music Festival didn't have such a low level of accompaniment. It was all live accompaniment. The singers who participated in the performance could bring their own band or let the organizers arrange it. In addition, items such as drums, electronic organs, synthesizers, and so on were not easy to move. Unless they had special needs or obsessive-compulsive patients, most of the participating bands used the equipment provided by the organizers. Otherwise, if each band brought their own full set of equipment, it would be troublesome to move it back and forth, and it would be a waste of time to change it. As for guitars, basses, and other instruments that were easy to carry, most of them were self-prepared. The organizers provided multiple sets of the same equipment for the band members who arrived in advance to practice and familiarize themselves with it, so as not to affect their normal level of performance. The Nirvana band was no exception. Even if their territory was in Beijing, they were not arrogant enough to use their own instruments. They only brought a few guitars and basses, so they definitely needed to find a feel before going on stage. As soon as Wang Jing and the others left, the ponytailed reporter from the Trend Network Entertainment Channel couldn't wait to ask, "Teacher Lu Chen, is this your first time participating in the 72H Music Festival?" Lu Chen replied, "Yes, in fact, I wanted to come to Beijing a long time ago. I didn't expect to be able to participate in person today. It's a very fresh and exciting experience for me." Then, "Have you prepared any new works for this music festival?" There were many new singers and bands participating in the 72H Grass Music Festival, including many excellent singers and songwriters. Unless it was a tribute, they disdained to cover other people's works. At the music festival, original works were also the most popular and sought after, including many representatives sent by entertainment agencies. They were also happy to see more new and good works. At present, the domestic pop music scene really needed new original works, because many pop music lovers, including those ordinary listeners, had already begun to get tired of the same fast songs. Originality was king. This was the most important reason why the 72H Grass Music Festival could have such a great influence, even though it had a strong non-mainstream nature. Lu Chen was precisely relying on originality to start, especially the campus folk song trend that he set off. It had a great impact both inside and outside the circle, and the endless original works had brought him a high reputation. If Lu Chen cooked cold rice on 72H, it would definitely disappoint a lot of people. Of course, Lu Chen wouldn't disappoint everyone. "Yes, I have prepared 2 new songs, both of which will be my first public performance." The ponytailed reporter smiled and said, "That's great. I'm looking forward to your new works. May I ask if you have any plans to release a new album this year?" Lu Chen said without hesitation, "I will definitely release my second album this year." This was a fact without a doubt. Once the new studio at the art park was renovated and the recording studio could be put into use, he would start to produce his second album. Whether he went to shoot TV, movies, or anything else, music would always be the foundation that he stuck to. Lu Chen. Mr. Lu Chen. Teacher Lu Chen. Just as Lu Chen answered the ponytailed reporter's second question, 6 or 7 reporters suddenly ran over. They brought their respective cameramen and surrounded Lu Chen. Microphones and recording pens were extended to his mouth. It wasn't only the ponytailed reporter from Tide Network who came to interview the 72H Grass Music Festival. Many entertainment-related media had also sent out reporters to dig for news clues at the scene. The ponytailed reporter's interview with Lu Chen attracted their attention, so they swarmed over like bees smelling honey. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 or 20 people gathered, surrounding Lu Chen and making it difficult for him to move. Li Feiyu saw that the situation wasn't good, so he quickly stood in front of Lu Chen to protect him. The security guards at the scene also rushed over to help maintain order. But this didn't affect the enthusiasm of the reporters. They shouted and asked Lu Chen all kinds of questions. As a result, she took the lead in the beginning, but because of her small and weak body, the ponytailed girl was squeezed out of the crowd. She was so angry that she stamped her feet again and again, but there was nothing she could do. Grab news, news really needed to be grabbed. Especially when interviewing hot people, it was very important to occupy a position. Compared with the veteran entertainment reporters of QQ Network and Entertainment Weekly, the ponytailed girl was really too inexperienced. She stomped her feet and was depressed, but in fact, some people were even more unhappy than her. Hee hee, it's awesome to have a heavenly queen. On the east side of the stage of the music festival, on the grass not far from the backstage area, a large independent area was separated with warning tape. There were hundreds of tents inside, and in the open space between the tents, many singers with guitars sat in twos and threes. This position was specially allocated to singers and bands who came from outside to participate in the performance. On the one hand, it was to save their expenses, on the other hand, it was also an occasion for them to communicate. Therefore, it was possible to see several or a group of singers gathered together to chat, drink and talk about music. Because the location was very close, the scene of Lu Chen being interviewed by a large number of media reporters inevitably fell into the eyes of many foreign singers. Some people glanced at it and no longer paid attention. They were immersed in their own music world. Some showed curiosity or envy when they saw such a scene, and some showed disdain or even contempt. A group of about 20 singers looked in the direction of Lu Chen. A thin, dark-skinned, long-haired young man sneered, "This world still has to look at faces." His words were immediately agreed by others. Yes, being handsome is an advantage. Who told us not to have a good reincarnation? We can only rely on ourselves to work hard. Humph, in terms of strength, can he compare with our brother Gangzi? Those soft folk songs are nothing. Real singers should sing rock and roll. It's a pity that nowadays fans go to the face. Those entertainment companies are rushing to sign some little fresh meat. We are old wax sticks. In tonight's performance, Brother Gangzi will show his skills and shock them. When Brother Gangzi was popular, the Brother Gangzi they mentioned was Shi Gang, the lead singer of the Wednesday Band. The Wednesday Band was founded at the beginning of the new century with 5 members. It was originally a pure rock band. The band became famous at the 72H Grass Music Festival. At that time, the Song of the Earth, written by Shi Gang and sung at the music festival, was a sensation and was regarded as a counterattack work of national rock. As a result, the Wednesday Band was signed by Gem Records and released 2 albums that sold very well. The style also changed from pure rock and roll to a combination of pure and light, incorporating more musical elements. However, the band did not have a long time to shine. Their follow-up works lacked highlights, and they also had a dispute with Gem Records. After the termination of the contract, Shi Gang took people to the south to develop. But every 72H Grass Music Festival, as long as the Wednesday Band was invited, they would definitely participate. And this year, Shi Gang and Wednesday brought their carefully prepared works to the festival. Chapter 322. Shi Gang was in his 30s, but he looked older, like an uncle in his 40s. His beard was unkempt, and he had an indescribable decadent aura. However, compared to many of his dispirited peers who were equally unkempt, he looked quite different. His clothes and trousers were all starched and clean, and there were absolutely no thick stains on his clothes. His thick and strong fingernails were neatly trimmed, and his eyes were bright and full of spirit. No one would mistake him for a homeless man on the street. Shi Gang frowned slightly at his companion's incitement, then he immediately smiled and said, "Don't say that. Lu Chen is a very capable singer. In terms of talent, he is much better than me." No one thought that Brother Gangzi, who had always been quite arrogant in the circle, would actually praise Lu Chen so much. Those people who ridiculed Lu Chen just now couldn't help but shut their mouths and showed an awkward expression. Shi Gang acted as if he didn't see it and continued, "Yesterday, I chatted with Big Chin from the Bionics for a long time. Big Brother Chin told me a lot about Lu Chen. It is lucky to have someone like him appear in the pop music world." Shi Gang had been in the music industry for more than 10 years. He had experienced prosperity and also experienced neglect. He had mingled in the mainstream and non-mainstream circles. He had mixed in the low-level and high-level circles. Naturally, he had his own views on life. He was very clear that in the domestic pop music world, the non-mainstream circle was as complicated as the mainstream circle. It was full of all kinds of people. Those depressed singers often had prejudice and even hatred towards the famous people in the mainstream circle. And it was often these people who were actually very envious of the glory of the mainstream circle. On the other hand, the mainstream circle's rejection and contempt towards the non-mainstream circle had always existed. The original intention of the 72H Grass Music Festival was to break the barrier between the two circles, to let more outstanding talents at the bottom stand out, and to let the mainstream circle pay attention to their existence. But it was not easy. Although there were many singers and bands that emerged through 72H and were signed by entertainment agents, the situation of the non-mainstream circle had not changed. The mutual estrangement and discrimination had never really been eliminated. To be honest, Gang, who was now wandering between the mainstream and non-mainstream circles, also looked down on the so-called young idols in the mainstream circle who had mediocre singing skills and completely relied on their good looks to make a living. But Lu Chen was definitely not that type. When the wandering band's Great Qin was mentioned, everyone fell silent. Regardless of whether they admitted it or not, the Bionics were now one of the most popular bands in the music industry. Qin Hanyang's background in Qin had given him a very high reputation in the non-mainstream music industry. His single, In the Spring, had moved countless lower-class singers, and they all viewed Qin Hanyang as a big brother. Lu Chen happened to be the songwriter of In the Spring. His works also include Chasing Dreams with a Childlike Heart, Once You, Fly Higher, and other outstanding light rock songs. It was nothing more than his youth, handsomeness, TV series, and relationship with Chen Fei that made people intentionally or unintentionally ignore his talent and strength in original music. Wasn't it very ignorant and laughable to look down on such a person? Many people's faces showed a bit of shame. Gang clapped his hands and said, actually, on the other hand, to be able to perform with a singer like Lu Chen on the same stage is also our luck. I suggest that we all bring out our best and not let others look down on us. This time, everyone's reaction was enthusiastic, and their morale rose again. Yes, Brother Gang Z is right. We can't let others look down on us. Gang smiled but didn't say anything. In his heart, he was thinking about the performance at night. He had never been a singer who was willing to be lonely. The ups and downs of life made him know how to cherish opportunities. Although Lu Chen was strong, it wasn't enough to make him lose the courage and confidence to sing. Similar to Gang, those capable singers were also rubbing their palms together, eager to compete with each other. Although their fame and popularity couldn't be compared to a popular singer like Lu Chen, the 72H Grass Music Festival was different from ordinary performances. The audience who came here had a high degree of recognition for the non-mainstream circle, and they knew how to appreciate rock and roll and other niche types of music. In the history of 72H, there was no lack of famous singers who were booed to the point of losing face. The live band accompaniment, the unplugged features, and the authentic singing were a test of individual strength. Therefore, here, anyone could sing more popular than Lu Chen or other big-name singers. At this moment, Lu Chen didn't know that there were so many singers waiting to compete with him. He used more than half an hour to deal with the reporters and arrived backstage. Although it was called backstage, it was actually a simple tent that was temporarily set up. It was as long as a vegetable shed. There were already many singers and bands in the tent. Lu Chen saw several familiar faces. Brother Liao Jia. Among the singers invited to the 20th 72H Grass Music Festival, the one with the highest status was definitely not Lu Chen. It was Liao Jia. This disciple of Black Raven's lead singer and soul figure, Gao Yi, was once regarded as the last hope of national rock. Although he couldn't save national rock, he still had a high influence in the music industry. For the 72H Grass Music Festival, Liao Jia also had a very special identity. He was one of the founders. Of course, Liao Jia was only a special guest of the music festival, not a member of the organizing committee. Lu Chen and Liao Jia knew each other because of Chen Fei. The latter once pursued Chen Fei, but Chen Fei didn't have any feelings for him. In the end, Lu Chen, this young boy, won her heart. For this reason, Liao Jia deliberately looked for Lu Chen to compete in drinking, and the two became friends because of each other. Liao Jia's temper was a little impatient, but he had a good character. His popularity and reputation in the circle were even better. Therefore, even if Lu Chen's popularity was higher now, he still had to politely greet this person. "You're here too." Seeing Lu Chen, a smile appeared on Liao Jia's dark and thin face. He stood up from his seat, stepped forward, and patted Lu Chen's shoulder hard. He asked in a very polite manner, "What time does your performance start?" Lu Chen replied, "Around 8:30. Liao Jia smiled and said, "I'm at 7:30. I've wanted to compete with you for a long time. Now the opportunity has come." Lu Chen blushed with shame. "Brother Liao Jia, can we not joke?" "Who's joking with you?" Liao Jia glared and said, "If you lose to me, I will despise you." You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.